Thank you guys so much for joining us today for our guest speaker series. Today, we have Matt Underwood with the City of Fort Morgan, and he is going to be speaking to us about all things turf management, which is the division that he works for the city. So we will turn it over to Matt.
Hi. Thank you for the introduction. I'm glad to be here. As stated, I am a superintendent of parks, golf, and cemetery for the city of Fort Morgan. To be honest with you, the turf management division is a pretty broad spectrum depending on what line of work you want to get into or where you want to go. Within the city of Fort Morgan, pretty much we're a community of around 12,000 people. I like to tell people if it's green and it's supposed to grow, I'm the guy you yell at about it. To be honest, it's the best thing if you want to work outside. If you're looking to get your hands dirty and really see what the growth is, it's just an industry that can take you in so many places. So my little story, to be honest with you, I'm the son of an electrician who grew up as child labor in a greenhouse for my German grandmother, who just really wanted to make me rotate lots of flowers all day. I grew up on a baseball field that my grandfather ran. So in some ways, I kind of naturally grew into all aspects of turf, whether it was the athletic field maintenance, whether it was the flowers, whether it was helping take care of the grass on the field and everything that entails. I kind of worked my way through that sort of stuff. And I actually went to college to play college baseball, where because my credits transferred towards an English degree, believe it or not, I got a bachelor's in English, which was a pretty interesting thing because when I was done playing ball, I realized I didn't want to teach. I came back home and really everything I'd always done was always turf. So I took a job for my uncle who was a plumber, kept taking care of the ball field. Through the nature of a few different jobs, I took over the facility maintenance of a nursing home and eventually made my way to the city of Fort Morgan with their parks department. After that, it was kind of a whirlwind of taking over the cemetery, the turf maintenance and the operations of our local cemetery, which then later on, I ended up absorbing the golf maintenance portion of things. And now I also run the parks. All in all, that encompasses around 180 to 200 acres of irrigated turf and 600 acres of native. That basically just unirrigated. So that's kind of how I got to be where I am. To give you an idea, and bear with me as I pop up some pictures, but these are some of the facilities that we look at doing various degrees of maintenance. As you can see, this would be our Serenity Falls Columbarium located within our cemetery. It's a up-ground burial site. Within this, we are a 40-acre cemetery. We handle all the maintenance within. That's flowers, that's trees, that's mowing, trimming, meeting with the public, records, requests. So where a lot of people often think in turf, maybe it's just I'm mowing lawn, grass all day. No, it's a pretty widespread industry. You have that, and then we also can shuffle into our Whale Dunes golf course, which is 18 holes that we are responsible for. Again, all aspects of maintenance are done within our turf division, from fertilizing to flowers to event setup to all the varying ranges of cuts. I always like the aerial views because they make it look so much better sometimes than up close. But no, it actually is a beautiful thing. And then, we shuffle into a lot of what we do in our park systems. In our park systems, it's the obvious. It's our playgrounds, within, it's the flowers, it's the mowing. We have about 13 parks in our systems and stuff like that. So it's a wide thing. It's a wide array of options. So if I can speak to why I was excited to possibly speak on a job fair or a career track type of opportunity that Generation Schools is providing, I think it's because my industry, I think, is perfect for every walk of life, depending on how you want to get there. Truth be told, my path was a perfect conglomeration of mistakes and trying to figure out what I wanted to do with my life along the way. And all those skills ended up putting me in position to be where I am and now. So I'm a story that sits there and says, you don't have to know what you want to be when you're 15, when you're 16. You just got to keep moving forward. You got to keep pushing and learning things and taking on skills. And you never know when everything like that's going to come together and put you on your path. Now I employ full-time workers, 20 full-time workers. Out of my 20 full-time workers, I believe 4 of them went to schooling for it. They actually went to school. They chose this as their path early on. They're specialists, whether my assistant golf superintendent does that, my mechanics, they do that aspect. I also have a few others that were like me who just basically needed a job, fell in love with an industry. And then I have others that went into an industry that they realized it was something else completely and found them there. So when I sit there and say turf management, I think you got to understand what's exciting for a young individual to go into is it can be so many things. We're not just mowing, but it's irrigation. In my operations, and bear in mind, we're a small community. So when I'm talking turf management, if I go into the Denver areas, those guys are really throwing out some big numbers. But just for your knowledge, we water 1.5 million gallons of water a night during peak watering season. 1.5 million gallons every night just to keep our grass green. We put down probably close to, I'd sit there and say over 100 tons of fertilizer. The amount of chemical we spray, we plant over 10,000 flowers, tree maintenance, playgrounds, pools, customer service, construction projects. If an individual comes in as a general maintenance worker in the turf industry, and this is where it's so key to the young adults out there that I'm hopefully speaking to right now, is you can come in with an open mind, learn a lot of skills, and you never know. You might find yourself leaning towards the mechanical aspect of things. You might be like me and you just love chasing water all day. You might want to do turf. You might want to get into athletic field maintenance. It's so many different things, and it can help you figure out your life while you're actually building the skills to get to where you want to be. And so that's why I always encourage people not to be hesitant of entering our industry, because if anything, it can also tell you, I don't want to work out in the heat. Time to go back to school and get a job where I got air conditioning. Trust me, every now and then I feel that same way. But the reality of it is, if you love working with your hands, building something, it's just so many paths. I'm going to be honest. First question I get is, how much money do you make? Hey, I'm a municipality. So I work for a city. So we always like to say no one goes to the city to get rich. That's just how it is. But you got to understand, turf management isn't just municipalities, it's private sector work too. If you get into the golf, you can take a job with a private golf club and do turf management. You can get into opening your own businesses. You can do this and that with those skills that you learned. For us, it's the customer service side. It's being a part of my community that I know I'm playing a vital role in. Beyond that, I'll be honest, some people might say, what's your day consist of? I have no idea. To show you some pictures, I always tell people, good intentions sometimes do you no good. The value of turf management is every day's different. It's a challenge because we don't know what it's going to hold. Some prime examples of this, I might come in one day to, here's a fun one. I might come into this. This one's a little extreme. This is our softball fields in 2013. We had extreme flooding when the snowpack and melt came down, and as you can see, it destroyed everything. This encompassed 2 years worth of rehab work and stuff like that. This is a prime example of, we don't just mow grass. Mother Nature dictates so much of what we do. Now, this is a rather extreme version. I understand of like, what's your day hold? But honestly, that's what can happen to us. I may need to mow the grass. I may need to spray. We may have weather that dictates that. If you walk outside, if you want to know what turf management is, if you walk outside and just look around, everything you see impacts what we do on a daily basis. The wind, the cloud cover, the ET or evaporation transmission rates. It can be how much concrete is absorbing that heat surrounding it. It's going to be the overall temps. It's the nightly lows versus the highs of the day. It's a turf science if you get into that sort of aspect. It can also be construction. Here's an example of some of the construction aspects we do. This is a group of guys building playgrounds, putting in the units. So if you think you're just going to ride a lawnmower all day or cut string trim grass, no, it can be something up to this point. I think that's the beauty of it to me. I work in a job that I'm never going to perfect. Every year is different. Every day is different. Today is March 15th. Right now, we're expected to get 64 degrees. That's wonderful. How many of you out there think it's going to be 64 degrees next March 15th for me? Probably not. Yesterday was 60 degrees. The reality is we learn what we do and we adjust on a daily basis because we don't know what variables are going to determine our success day in, day out, week in, week out, month in, month out. Now, at times that can be frustrating. I feel as insecure as anybody at times, like, am I any good at my job? Because the reality is you're never allowed to feel like you perfected your job. But I think that's the fun of it all. It's the challenge. If you ever think that you are going to get perfect at this job, you're not. So if you embrace imperfection and you love the challenge of something new every day, man, turf management is a beautiful industry to get into. And again, you can pick 3 paths and you can just move forward, work within the industry and see which direction it takes you. You can pick a trade school. You can go into mechanics. You can go into water hydrology. You can go anything like that that can also help you build those skills to enter it in, as well as you can go get a specified turf agronomy degree, and come into a specialized aspect of it. It's just a neat thing to know that there's so many paths to success in an area that is growing so big. I didn't even mention the fact that trails. We're a society now that loves open space. It's the work to live, not live to work, which I try not to tell my guys that, but hey, that is where we're at. But we are that industry. You walk outside, you look at the park, the sidewalk. When it snows, ever wonder who gets rid of all that snow for you on those sidewalks and in those parks? You go play soccer, lacrosse, any of those sports. Ever wonder who takes care of those lines? That's us behind the scenes. Those flowers, those trees. It's just a lot of everything. A lot to the point where sometimes you can probably gauge. It's tough in a Zoom meeting to really show that appreciation for just how widely spread out what our operation is. But I'm telling you, if it's something you want to get into, find your local public works or parks department. See about a seasonal job. See if you can get in, get your hands dirty, and really be part of growing something that can give back to your community. So, big picture, turf management, my best advice, move forward. And not even turf management. I had no idea what I wanted to be outside of a Major League Baseball player when I was 16 years old. Obviously, you can tell that didn't work out for me. But the reality of it is I just kept taking jobs and I kept doing what I knew and I kept building the skill set. And now I kind of pinch myself some days thinking about what I'm responsible for, who the guys are that I work side by side with, and that I make a living doing what I do and a good living at it. And all I was this screw up kid who could never make his mind up what he wanted to do. So I hope I'm a little different than your standard presenter in that sense. You don't have to be perfect. You just got to get out there and you got to try it. In our industry, it can go so many different ways. There, it's just a beautiful option. And again, it's everywhere. Big city, small city, rural, commercial, you name it, we got it. So again, is a few other just pictures. These are the sort of things that we sit there. This is more of our Riverside Cemetery. You can see that when it snows, we've got a whole range of different headaches. I am in an area where the season changes. If you don't like the snow, hey, move out west. Pick an area in turf with a whole different type of turf science. Learn how to deal with less water and a lack of changing seasons. You hate the heat, no problem. Move into that Midwest where you get extended winters. You can tailor so much. It's a beautiful thing. So long and short of it, that's really turf management in a nutshell, as far as we do here. It's a very proud thing. I look around every day and I know that I'm leaving things behind for my daughter, for my neighbors, and I'm having an impact on what our quality of life is in Fort Morgan. And that's the same no matter where you might be watching this from. Keep that in mind. And as a turf guy, the next time you're down in that park and you finish your bag of chips or your candy wrapper, do us all a favor. Find that trash can, because you know what? There's someone out there who's picking that up too. And that's really what it is. So again, I'm assuming my contact info would be included, any teachers or anything that's went out. I love to talk turf. I love to talk water. I love to talk the science of it all. If anyone would ever want to reach out, have a student who might have an interest with questions, I am always available, and hope that anyone involved in these type of processes would be. So if there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer. But beyond that, I'll just ramble and say the same stuff over and over again. So thank you for your time.
Thank you so much, Matt. And before I let you go, I do have a question. Being the superintendent of your department, could you talk a little bit about how leadership would be an important skill to have?
Definitely. So I think there's a lot of different types of leaders. What's the saying? There's 100 different ways to skin a cat. Sorry to all the cat lovers out there, but hey, you know what I'm saying? Leadership is huge. I work with blue collar individuals in rough conditions. It's either hot, it's either cold, it's either heavy stuff we're lifting. I am what you would call probably more of a foxhole mentality. I believe in being up there and in the hole with my guys, lead by example. But there are times where I have to lead by supporting my guys. There's so many different ways to lead. I think the biggest thing is to learn as far as my industry is people can tell when it's fake. Don't try and be something you're not. Everyone, regardless of whether they know it or not, has natural leadership qualities. It's just how it comes out in them. You may not be the alpha personality that wants to sit there and lead the charge and yell at everybody, but you might also be that rock, that steadying person who everyone else can count on when they need to. That's leadership. Leadership doesn't have to be the front of the line all the time. Sometimes it's the guy in the back making sure no one's falling behind. And I think that's what's huge about it. You could not get into turf management, at least to get to my level, if guys don't want to work hard for you. As bad as that sounds, I'll sit there and tell you right now, I am a very honest person in the sense to where my success is on the back, hard work and sweat of a lot of hardworking individuals. I rely on guys to be excellent at what they do in order for me to succeed and get them the resources that they need to do what they need to do. So understand, when we think about leadership, whether you're at the bottom of the line or you're at the front, you're always leading. I would always be looking at how you do that, but it all comes down to really who you are. How do you lead? But if you're trying to be someone you're not, that's going to be more detrimental to leadership in my mind anytime. The best people I've been around, the guys I want to run through walls for, they're genuine. They're just who they are. And honesty is the best policy, because maybe people don't want to hear it, but at least when they think of you, they know that, hey, I know where I stand, and that's kind of how I lead. But I'm also a blue, so I'll be honest, I call us a blue collar division. There's white collar and blue collar. You need both to succeed in this life, but to lead in a blue collar, you better be prepared, and you better be prepared to do whatever you're willing to ask someone else to do. And if you're not, it's a tough hill to swallow. I've got some alpha personalities who are no nonsense, and I love them for it, and I hate them for it. But that's kind of turf management right there. It's a love-hate thing. We're never happy. It's either not enough rain or it's too much rain. It's either not hot enough or it's too hot. Just know that when you lead, be yourselves. Not everyone has to be the quarterback. The team still needs linemen, a receiver, running backs. It takes the team to get us there. I'm lucky that the 20 full-time individuals and upwards, if I'm fully staffed, 16 individuals overall, I am lucky that they are all as talented and hardworking as they are. Otherwise, I would fail. Along those superintendent things, do know that if you really, I love water, if you do that, the further in this industry you go, the less you'll probably be able to do the very thing that got you into the industry. I love digging holes. I love chasing water. I rarely get to chase water anymore. I push a lot of paper. I'm responsible for multi-million-dollar budgets. We have over $5 million in capitals coming. I do a lot of number chasing. Our irrigation is done within it's called a hydrology tree. It's not us out there just flipping a clock. It's computer algorithms that are putting down the proper precip rates and stuff like that depending on how hot it is and how cool it is. I mean, I could get really in depth to how intelligent turf is, but in the end, it's still just making grass green. And there's a feel for that too. But if you do want to get up, you want to get in management level at the highest levels, you're going to have to learn the science of it, the numbers of it, as well as the leadership and the practical ability to do the work. Again, though, I'd like to say that's any industry. The higher up the ladder you go, it's just a different set of headaches. So
thank you so much. That was an excellent response. We appreciate your time today and all you're doing for the city of Fort Morgan. Students, as Matt said, if you have questions, don't hesitate to reach out. We will include his contact info for you if you want to get in touch with him. Thanks again, Matt. We hope you have a great rest of your day.
thank you, Amanda.
Thanks.
See ya.
Bye-bye.